Hello, welcome to Six Train Therapy. I'm DJ Mayday, your artist.
And I'm Professor S, your psychotherapist to the stars.
And welcome to 2023. Now, I don't believe in
I think it's great that we are still, we started this podcast as our experiment or our hobby, and it's great that we're going from like middle of last year to we're still doing it.
Yeah, I look back on all the stuff, and it's 5 months.
Yeah. So
that was longer than I thought.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So we want to thank those of you that do watch that and sticking with us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and bring your friends. Come along for the ride on the Six Train Therapy terrain.
That's right.
But
terrain.
Yeah, well, I don't believe in resolutions, and we covered that last week.
Yes, we did.
But
if you missed that, guys, look at our last episode on resolutions in the new year.
Yeah, but I wanted to still step into 2023, in a positive and good way.
Yes.
So I think, we both agreed that we kind of needed a little joy this week. We're both going through our certain things.
Yeah, I kind of had a really bluesy period. Maybe it's a lot of things. I think working for myself is part of that too. But then I was also thinking, I lost my mom quite a few years ago, as well as my dad. But I didn't realize till like after New Year's that I just kind of remembered her. And usually I don't always go through a thing, but
New Year's is that time of reflection,
yes,
right?
It reflects, this reflection.
So it has that kind of effect. But we want to step into 2023 finding our joy.
Yes.
So that's going to be like our focus for this episode.
Yes.
And just once again, just going to
the framework,
the topic.
Yeah.
And surprisingly, the definition of joy, a feeling of great pleasure and happiness. That's very vague. I guess it's to the point, but it is sort of vague. But that is the standard.
Can you repeat that again, please?
Yeah, it's a feeling of great pleasure and happiness, and that's vague. That
is vague because I think it covers so many things.
Right.
I looked at when I was doing the research. I found this one article. They just talked about 100 things to help you find joy.
Yes.
So it was all kind of different things. Some of it is also part of the self-care thing, but it's so many things.
Right, but I think that I feel like that is what joy is. It's more ambiguous, right? It's not something you can target, and it's different for everyone. So it's not something you kind of can nail down and really give it a.
Well, I disagree in a sense. In a sense, I'm not really disagreeing actually. But when it is something that you can nail down when you know what brings
exactly
you joy,
it's personal.
Then you can actually say, you know what, I do like to swim, or I really do like to hang out with my friends, and I need to do that more. So it does become, if you know it, then it's something that you need to kind of pay attention to. It's when you don't do the things that bring you joy, or the new things that could bring you joy.
Right.
That's where we get stuck. And I think that's probably what happened with me prior to Christmas and the New Year's. I was aware that I wasn't doing, so I just worked. It was like work. And so, but then I did hang out with, I did go to a friend's gathering on Christmas Day.
Oh, you did?
So I did go. That was great.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We aren't gonna get into all that.
Why are you humping? Oof.
Well,
are you from the Bronx?
I'm from the Bronx.
Oof. Remember that?
Yeah, it's DMX.
Oh, it is?
DMX
okay. Anyway.
and Snoop Dogg. But anyway, bringing back to the whole joy thing.
Yes.
So, like, personally doing the research, I always try to find like angles, things that I can personally relate to. I'm an artist, so on TED Talk, I found this person.
También.
Yes, he is an artist as well.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, like,
well, I only can speak for myself, one at a time, baby.
Okay, we'll demonstrate our artistic skills at some point. But yes.
So,
by the way, you bring me joy.
You bring me joy too, bro.
And this and what we're doing brings me joy.
Yeah.
So I always like it brings my vibration up knowing that we're doing this.
Yes.
No matter how in the funk I am.
Yes,
this comes up.
And the conversation before and after we do the show is I kind of live for those, between the moments.
Of course you would live for it because I am involved, bruh.
Bruh, you need to stop that.
It's that chocolate thunder.
Oh, God.
and that caramel goodness coming together and doing a podcast called Six Train Therapy.
You know what I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying? Okay, come on, get to it.
All right, I'm trying. You keep
I
interrupting.
keep talking. Yeah.
But anyway, so I relate things through art. That's kind of my thing. That's who I am. And I found this TED talk, which was very interesting and talking about joy. And the person talking is Ingrid Fetell Lee, and she is a designer. But she goes into this whole story. I'm just going to give a quick synopsis. She was an art student, and then at the end of the year, all the teachers come around and critique her art. And one of the teachers, professors, said that her stuff brought him joy. And then she said she took it not as an insult, but just not as, it felt too light. It didn't feel like descriptive of what she was doing. And then from that moment on, for the next 10 years, she sought out joy and what that meant and how that meant and how that meant to her through her art and how it impacted people. So she made some very important scientific connections, you know, that according to her, you know, that there are shapes associated with joy that harken back to our things we needed, and you know, our ancestral needs. For instance, round shapes, the color green. For example, she gave an example of confetti. One piece of colored paper doesn't mean anything, but a lot of them references abundance, happiness, survival, because you now you have abundance, which means you'll survive, eat food.
Right.
Round shapes represent fruits. Bright colors represent, you know, fruit and season. So all these things have like a hearkening back to life, you know, and living. So a lot of things that bring us joy are the reference points is to live well. She also referenced like how schools and hospitals, if colored different,
Oh, absolutely.
and designed different, have a different result on learning and health.
Well, you know, a clinic that I worked in about 7 years in Harlem, they actually had an art therapist, and the art therapist was very actively involved in choosing the colors when they redesigned the whole thing. So she actually knew what colors were soothing to our clients. It was community based, so you know, our folks were of all different, you know, socioeconomics. So it was very purposeful and intentional. What she used in the hallways, what did she use in the rooms that we did therapy, and also each office. So, and she explained some of that to me, that it really is about cooler colors, things that don't stimulate too much, and so on. So yeah, I thought it was very
And corporations do
amazing.
this too. Like I remember watching this thing about McDonald's and how they colored,
Colors, yeah.
how they colored their restaurants, and
Very researched,
Yeah.
intense,
So-
very scientific.
gets you to stay and eat
Yes,
more,
longer.
maybe. You
Yeah,
know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
there is a science to it, and I think as normal people we could take advantage of it. And a lot of things that Ingrid Fetell Lee was saying was that these things are all around us, and we just have to kind of seek them out. So it's those little spots of beauty and things that can bring us joy. So it was, for me as an artist, was very interesting, you know?
You know, I just thought too, and I might be taking it a little
No,
different
go for it.
direction, but we also don't we also underestimate what joy we bring to other people.
Absolutely.
I remember I missed somebody's birthday, and there were two other gatherings that I wasn't able to make, and I had no idea that it really impacted him that I wasn't there.
Wow.
And he said, "I really missed you. I'm having this birthday party, but I missed you." And it really touched me in a way I never, ever thought. And I think since then, I am a little bit more conscious that folks can find joy just in me being myself. And
In your presence.
that was pretty powerful.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
Even with this brown turtleneck that really makes me look, you know what I'm saying? Look pretty good.
oh God, here we go. Anyway,
Anyway, go.
Anyway, so like
colors.
those things were very interesting to me. That we have color cues and shapes and things that can bring us joy. But this goes back to like the thing I always kind of bring up, that what I always call the micro pleasures.
Yeah, yeah.
And I always seek out those little bits of pleasure. And I just want to, just a disclaimer, alcohol and drugs are not part of what we're talking about here, like being inebriated or, you know,
Altered
the
consciousness.
altered consciousness is not what I'm talking about. Trying to do this in a focused, conscious, like you just said, way is what we're referring to.
Right.
You know what I mean? But yeah.
That's pretty cool. That's
And
very
you know
cool.
another thing that I found, you look up the word joy, Bible and
I
Christian
saw
stuff
that.
just comes
I did
running
see
at
that.
you from the internet,
I did see
and
that.
which had me thinking, like, and that's okay.
Right.
That's like a good thing if that brings you joy. You know,
We're looking at some of these I didn't grow up in a Pentecostal church. I grew up in a Methodist church that's very straight and up and down. And I remember I went to a Pentecostal. I mean, people were experiencing joy. People were getting the spirit. It was altering their whole consciousness, and they were feeling joy and connection to spirit and God. And and it's interesting because culturally, how you might express that in one country can be expressed completely different in another country or different ethnic communities. You know
yeah,
what I
no,
mean?
for sure. Like, I mean, I grew up in, born again Christian church, Baptist church. Sometimes Spanish, sometimes black, or both. Sometimes, and the music for me, it was always like, it was super
It's
lit.
moving.
It was
It's very
super
moving,
lit. It
right?
was like, it just got you up, energized, and you were like, wow, this music. And then the pastor had the task of like calming everybody down and getting the message across, and that was always fun. I thought that part of it was always fun. So I mean, wherever you can find healthy joy, I think
Yes,
it
yes.
is I think is the key.
Yeah.
And it's not always big. And the other thing that Ingrid said too, and I hope I don't butcher what she said because it was really eloquent and lovely. And all
You're
these
doing your research, brother. Just go for it.
all these TED talks will be in the description.
Below. Yeah. Okay, cool.
But she said the little joys in of themselves are, oh, damn, I'm gonna butcher it, but all the little joys in of themselves may not bring you happiness, but collectively finding those small joys will bring you happiness. I totally butchered that, but she's very eloquent. So
It makes a lot of sense.
yeah, so there were things. And once again, like I try to always, okay, what can we do? You
Right,
know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
can we do to
To lift up.
yeah, like what
To
are the
lift up
actual
and joy.
factual tasks
Yeah.
that we could do?
Yeah.
And it turns out there are.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I could just share
Yeah,
too,
jump
like,
into it.
you know, um, being an artist too, not so much like DJ Mayday, this is part of his training and so on. But as an artist, that brought me so much joy, especially during this pandemic. A lot of artwork was produced by me during that time, and it really centered me. It made me feel happy during a time where a lot of negative things were going on. People were passing away. And I just found it amazing. I was actually creating in a space where people were passing away. And I got a level of creativity that I haven't had in so many years, and it just made me feel good. You know what I mean?
And I think this topic for both of us came at a good time. I don't know how we both kind of wound up in this kind of, not the dumps or anything, but just a little low emotionally. And doing the research, I was like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is something I could actually use some of this stuff. You know what I mean? So, joys, the little joys can lead to true happiness. That's like what I kept seeing. Like, and it goes back to like kind of what we always say. You have to work at this.
You do. And the other thing I thought of when you said that is, one of the big things about being moving towards joy is actually being with people. Because a lot of times there's a diagnosis called anhedonia, and anhedonia is like a sense of, there's like a social and then there's like a physical to anhedonia. So the social part is when you want to withdraw from people, you don't want to talk to anyone, you want to keep to yourself, and it's like a low level. Let's say I'll just use the word depression because that's what we can kind of connect to. And then there's the physical anhedonia where you don't want people to touch you. You don't want to be in places where you can actually be touched or people will hug you. It just feels like I don't want to do that. So that comes from not having joy, right? It comes from a sense of depression. And anhedonia, so which is the opposite of what we're talking about, the joy, that it actually, when you do things that are joyful, it triggers the part of your brain that dopamine is produced. It's a chemical in our brain, and when we produce it by doing things that we enjoy, then dopamine gets released. With anhedonia, some of the research is saying that for people that kind of experience anhedonia on a kind of regular basis, that it may have something to do with how the brain chemistry is not able to access dopamine in the way it's supposed to. So there could be also a chemical, root to that sadness. It's just more research is being done. There really is not one.
Well, let me see
part.
if I understand. So, like, and I'm being, cautiously optimistic, saying that. So, what you're saying is like the happiness can offset the sadness actively.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah,
So, like,
dopamine is that feel good, chemical in our brain, and it's actually the same chemical that's released when you get high. It's the same when you drink, when you gamble. It's the same chemical that's being released, and so since we're coming from a place of not the substance place, we're coming from a place of more holistic.
right.
So I'm just bringing the idea of chemical.
Well, when you drink, like, all right, let's say you drink max, you're drunk for 3 hours, 4 hours. I mean, there's still a whole lot of day that has to be addressed. There's still a whole lot of day that's missing that time, and yeah, you could probably drink the whole way through, but that doesn't sound like a good thing. But finding, centering yourself and finding your joy without being drunk or high,
Or without substance. That's
yeah,
basically what we're talking about is because some people experience joy, weddings and things like that.
right,
But
of
what we're
course,
talking about is non-chemical
right,
related,
right,
right?
right, right.
So being around people is a really positive thing. I know for me, I prefer if I'm going to be around a lot of people, I like small groups or one-on-one experiences. These larger parties, I'm more likely to be either just in a clique or my back is against the wall. You know, so that brings me joy. That brings me a lot of joy.
Well,
What about you, sir?
what brings me joy? Well, I know what brings me joy. I'm always searching for joy. I love to laugh. I love the jokes. I
You do.
I try to get everybody I can on the jokes. Because that is, I have a hysterical laughing session at least once every 2 months. Like the kind of laugh that you like think about when you're going to work and you start cracking up again. Like that kind of hysterical loss of breath laugh. I love to. I'm always seeking that out. I think. You know what I mean?
A lot of my close friends know that I love stand-up comedy for that very reason. I mean, it's just something that not everybody's into that,
Right.
But closer friends, my son, they all know I want to do some kind of comedy at least maybe once every 3 months. Yeah,
Yeah,
stand up, love
seeking
stand up.
that gut, that laugh that'll let you go. Like I'm thinking of shit that I happened just like not too long ago. That was pretty hilarious. I won't say here, but it just carries
You mean
over.
you won't say what it is?
No, no, I
Oh,
can't.
it's
I can't.
inappropriate.
No,
Oh,
it's just about people, so I don't want to.
oh, okay. So you don't want to put anybody on blast,
Right.
Okay,
But yeah, I seek out that. Now, and I'm starting to realize that I'm starting to want to seek out nature, which that was something that
which is a
never was.
big part of joy. That's interesting
Yeah.
that you're saying that.
And I've mentioned this
In
a couple of times. Like I'm
yeah,
responding to just
right,
the simple things like
yeah,
trees and
yeah.
grass, and like I'm starting to. I don't know why, but it's a recent advent of something that I want to do.
And it's definitely in the literature I read on this topic. I mean, being outdoors, being those that go on hikes, but just being outside around trees. And I know for me, it's trees and definitely water. Water brings me a lot of joy. Oceans, lakes, beaches. I just feel a sense of like you're part of nature, but you also have this kind of quiet space. Like it gives you a sense of like I'm in an okay place here.
Right, and you
Yeah.
maybe it's kind of where you belong or where you feel comfortable. It's your
True.
cozy spot. So like, and I think it means it's different things for everyone. So it's like that's my thing. That's Professor S's thing. But everyone. That's the beauty of this. It can be custom made, and then no one. I can't tell you what what your joy is, and you can't tell me. We can, but being honest with yourself and seeking it out, you could find it.
And also, like in the links below, we'll add more things that folks can read
Yes, for sure.
or watch.
For sure.
Like
Because this,
like the TED Talk.
yeah, this was an interesting. This one, I just dove into joy, and I started just going deeper and deeper. I got a little biblical, I got a little philosophical, and it was, and it all applied to me. So like, I felt like I just took what I wanted from it. You know what I mean? So I mean, we always say like, reach out and always seek out your wellness, and I think that's.
And I think what this research did for me is letting me know what I'm not doing.
Right.
To have joy, to offset some of my my blue days or the way that I work. Like, I'm not doing certain things. Oh, like this morning and yesterday, I had to walk from at least in Co-op, we're in Co-op City, so there's a Stop and Shop. Do you know where that is? Right
Yeah.
over there, and the post office.
Oh,
The post office.
oh, that's a walk.
I did that yesterday and I did it this morning. And I tell you, I haven't had that level of walking and exercise in such a long time. I felt like I accomplished something.
Yeah.
In addition to doing the task, but also that I moved my body. I was outside, changed, my environment. We have a lot of green space in our complex, and it was just nice to see that.
So my whole thing is, okay, we always talk, and we always talk theoretical in this. So what are like the solid hard things that you can do to actually bring joy? So that was part of my research, is like, all right, what now? All right, now we know, but how do we get to that place? And I found a really interesting thing about something called play task. Right. And again, it was another TED Talk, which was super interesting. Again, it'll be in the description below. Her name is Marieke van Dam. And she kind of proposed this. I know it's an actual working technique, but she proposed this technique that, giving play task and having play cards. So her whole thing was breaking the structure of society, not breaking it, but changing it, altering it a little, bringing a little joy. For instance, she gave examples such as like eating yogurt with a fork. You know what I mean?
Oh, okay.
Just the small little, wacky little joys that you can do. I write a note and leave it at the water cooler for a person, a random friend. You don't write that thing and then curse them out on it. That's not the point of this. You know what I mean? Little surprises, even stupid little small things like wearing two different kinds of socks to work. Only you know the joke. Like small, small little tasks to kind of alter your day and get you off the fast track to the way society may want you, or if your life at that moment is it's very stressful, just to break it a little bit.
Can I just add something that I read and actually did today? Actually, one of the things that one of the articles was talking about, to smile.
Oh yeah,
like if you get into an elevator, you see someone, hey, good morning, and a smile, as opposed to just getting in the elevator. And where we live, I don't know what your experience is in our building. If you're not speaking, they are not speaking.
Right. This is New York.
You know what I mean? This is like a bunch of New Yorkers in our complex. So I was very
that's
conscious.
tough to do. I'm sorry. That's tough to do.
I do it.
To New Yorkers, to smile at a New Yorker, they be like, yo, what you want? What you looking
But
at?
at least it's safer in our complex.
Yes,
we tend to all live here. So we're not coming from anywhere. And then the other thing, too, is not only to smile, but start small conversations with random people.
Right.
And so when I went to the post office, one woman at one of the windows, she was getting something taken care of, and I was, and she said something that the woman behind the post office worker said something. She said, well, I ain't paying that. I'm not going to do that. And I looked at her and I said, to look at your face, you're not doing that. I don't know this woman.
Right.
And she broke out laughing. And then I saw the woman compliment the postal worker on her nails, right? They were like outrageous. So I was like, oh. So it just so happens I had to see her. I had to leave the window I was at and see her. And I said, you made my day with those nails. And she just started laughing.
Oh,
so,
it was
like, yeah.
You just smoozing with the people in the post office.
I was just smoozing. And it felt good. It gave me joy. It really did.
Right.
And that's part of what was in the article. I was inspired by that.
Right, the connection, right? So,
Yeah.
and another aspect, just another note that I thought was great was like, if you meet somebody new, you tend to ask the kind of generic same questions, right? She offered a concept where you ask off-colored questions, not rude questions, not disrespectful questions, like
Like, how do you scratch your butt?
no, damn.
That's
See, why you gonna do that? That's crazy.
that's like eating, yogurt with a fork.
No, yogurt with a fork is breaking the monotony.
Is that but
That was her
if
example.
I say to somebody, how do you scratch your butt? Is that breaking the anatomy? It's
Yeah,
supposed to say,
but-
what do you do for a living?
Then somebody might be like, "Well, are you so concerned how I scratch my ass?"
How do you scratch yours, right?
So hey, then it gets weird.
Just kidding. Actually,
Yes.
yes. But go ahead, please.
Right.
I
So she
distracted
was
the whole
saying
point
like
of this.
I think she's from Holland or something. So she has a different sense of humor, temperament. So once again, everything custom. Everything use examples you see, you customize for yourself.
Right.
So she would say something if you met someone new. Ask them about their keychain if they had a keychain. Instead of saying, "Well, nice weather we're having today," you ask different questions that maybe trigger deeper conversations.
Right. That sounds pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, so it was really good, interesting TED Talk, and I definitely recommend it. And
And there's a lot of stuff out there around joy. I know WebMD was one of the sites I went to. They had some really good articles, and some of the medications that are out there where people feel down a lot. There's certain medications that I've found to be very effective. So I'll maybe get into that later in the show, but different things that people can do.
yeah. Well, but just in case, this is a list of play tasks that one can do. Now, again, when you hear this, take it with a grain of salt and customize it for yourself. So that's kind of the whole thing. I'm not going to read all 100 of them. I'm just going to just brush through them and just to give you a vibe of where it's coming from. So
This is DJ Mayday doing research. Man.
yeah, well, I had
Yes.
fun doing the research on this stuff. So watch the sunrise, breathe deeply, write a handwritten note to a friend or a family member, not specific, no reason required. Try a new at-home workout. Be artistic, draw, paint, sculpt, write, make jewelry, decorate furniture or a whole room. Journal, meditate, of course.
That's a lot of things
Dance.
I've discovered. It's the similar thing.
Yeah. Stop and smell the flowers, which is metaphoric, but also could be literal. Yeah. So laugh hard at your laugh as hard as you can, or find a way to find a laugh. You know what I mean? Seek it out. There's tons and tons of stuff, and I'll put it all in the description.
Was this 100 ways? Did you
Yes,
have
this was
100?
this was
Because
100
I
ways.
went through the 100 ways too. It may not be the same thing, but it was 100.
Yeah, it's 100 ways.
Yeah, I
and
found
this is
something like
this site is BioTrust Naturally Honest. So this again, we'll leave it all in the
Yeah, put in
description.
the description below. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're not gonna do verbatim for any of this stuff. But if you find cues that talk
works
to
for
you,
you. That's right.
yeah,
One of the other things that brings me joy, just the two things real briefly, are plays, theater. And last year, I saw 5 Broadway shows. I hadn't been to Broadway in years before that. And I actually went to the opera. I actually went to an opera, Rigoletto. I saw Rigoletto, and I hadn't seen the opera in like 30-something
Rigoletto.
years. And that was really cool. One of the things I love about opera are the set designs and how things move. Sets actually move in these presentations, and I loved it.
I'm DJ Mayday.
And I'm Professor S.
Thank you for listening to Six Train Therapy, and go find your joy.